Hello, and thank you for taking the time to watch the Clarion webinar around phone systems for education. My name is Matthew Putman. I'm the Senior Education Technology Consultant at Clarion, and I've got 17 years experience of working in the industry. A short presentation I'll take you through now will outline things to consider before going out to the market, typical issues that educational establishments encounter, and our preferred solution for education and why. The landscape within education has changed since March 2020, and the need for increased flexibility and improved communication between staff, students and parents is more important than ever. Limitations with existing legacy systems have become apparent, and educational establishments are now taking this opportunity to review their requirements. Understanding these requirements is going to be key when you go out to the marketplace to look for any new form of system. I've pulled together a few areas that frequently appear, and I just want to run through those now with you. The first is around security and resilience. How robust is the solution? Are you looking to have this deployed locally or in the cloud? If you lose connectivity or if there's a hardware failure, then is there any failover or business continuity plan that you can invoke? From a security perspective, you need to ask where the data is stored. Is it in the UK? Is it encrypted? Looking at flexibility, given the current climate, is there need for greater flexibility? Do staff need to be able to work remotely if required? Do they need to look at a mobile application or soft phones? Is there a portal where you can self-administrate the solution, whether you need to change messages or make changes to the auto attendant? Cost is always going to be key. We know that education is constantly under budget constraints. Firstly, be clear with what your current spend is. This normally will consist of the call spend, monthly rentals for perhaps ISDN lines or SIP trunks, or for hosted licenses. Is there any maintenance charges that are associated as well? These all need to be taken into account. Look at the commercial model that the new system is based around. Is it based on a per user per month model? Do you still require an element of physical hardware, such as phones on desks? Is the preference to buy these outright or lease them over a contract term? Understand your current network and if it needs to be upgraded. Any solution you look at will deliver the calls over your internet connection. So is there enough bandwidth available? And can we prioritize the voice traffic if needed? Nearly all solutions will use IP handsets. So is there sufficient cabling? Is Cat5 and Cat6 available? Will you need to daisy chain the handsets with a laptop or a PC? And if so, is gigabit pass-through going to be a requirement? Are you running power over Ethernet switches, or will the handsets need a separate power source? Are there analog devices that need to be incorporated? This could be something like fax, door entry, alarm lines, and can the proposed system accommodate this? Scalability. Can it grow as the school does? Are you looking to deploy this at a MAT level and accommodate multiple establishments? Are there economies of scale? If new users or new schools come on board, how does this affect the cost? Unified communications. Make a list of your requirements. Understand whether these are definite requirements or just nice to haves. Typically, these would include things like mobile applications, presence, instant messaging, audio video conferencing, SMS gateways, call recording, real-time and historic reporting, Office 365 integration. Are these included? Can they do them, or is there an additional charge? Sustainability is becoming increasingly important, and will your provider tick those corporate social responsibility boxes for you? Does the provider carbon offset? Is there an option to use remanufactured hardware to control costs and protect the environment? What happens when your legacy equipment, when that's no longer required? The final piece of the puzzle is delivery and support. How will your new supplier support you throughout the process? Do they have a documented project plan? What are the lead times? What experience do they have in deploying similar sized projects? Do you have references that they can speak to? What happens when you call them up? Do you get through to a person, or are you stuck in an auto attendant? What are their response times? And what's the availability for the service? Typically, there are a few key areas which provoke a catalyst for change. These fall probably into 4 areas. The first is cost. Is your current solution expensive to maintain? Is the equipment getting harder to find? Is software out of date? Are you still paying for things like calls? The next category really is functionality. Does it still meet your requirements? This could be around things like flexibility, for example, the mobile working that we've touched upon already, or there are certain functions that you require that the current system just currently doesn't provide. Are there elements of the solution that are coming to the end of their natural life cycle? This could be the phone system itself being no longer supported by the manufacturer. Are you getting more and more outages? Is there a frequent loss of service, and how does that impact the school? Are you reliant still on ICN lines that are going end of life in 2020, and do you need to move away from these, and therefore that forms part of the strategy for change? Capacity issues are often a reason to change these. This might be owing to an increase in users, recent school developments, for example, new buildings, or a more fundamental shift. Is the school becoming part of a multi-academy trust? Is there requirements to provide a standardised solution across all the schools to obtain a more centralised single approach? There are many different types of phone system out there in the marketplace, and the key challenge is to find one that meets your requirements. At Clarion, we are key advocates of the 3CX phone system for education. The main reason we like 3CX is that the commercial model is based on the number of people that are on a call at any one time, as opposed to a per extension basis. This is a great fit for schools, colleges and universities, as there tend to be a larger number of extensions and handsets, but the reality is they're not used frequently throughout the day. Therefore, charging based on the number of people on the phone at any one time means this model is really financially competitive. 3CX is a software-based solution, which means it can be deployed on a Windows or Linux server. It can be on-premise, or it could be in the cloud, depending on what your requirements are. We know 3CX is commercially competitive, but this is not at the expense of functionality. It will perform 150 features and functions, but the reality is you'll probably only use about 10 of these. This is standard features that you would expect with any phone system: auto attendant, voicemails, hunt groups, etc. However, 3CX goes above and beyond this, and there are really nice features that work really well within education. I just want to run through a few of these now for you. We've touched upon the flexibility aspect. Everyone at 3CX can have a soft phone, a mobile application, and it's included free of charge. There's no additional cost to this. It means that if someone wants to work flexibly or remotely, it comes down to what suits them best and is a business decision as opposed to a commercial decision. If SLT in the current environment were to get a positive test and everyone needs to self-isolate, you can roll this out to everyone, and it's really simple and straightforward to use. The mobile client has worked really well during lockdown. Historically, we used to say it would be useful for things like school trips and negate the need for the school to keep a bank of mobiles that were handed out to start. Likewise, if there was a sporting event, we found during lockdown it was really useful for the pastoral team. Initially, staff were calling students from the mobiles and realised that they were giving away their own personal mobile numbers. They then decided to withhold this number and the students weren't answering. We were able to use the app to present the main school number, and this meant more students answered the call, and we could even give them a direct dial number so they could be called straight back. There's really useful messaging side of things on 3CX, just to provide different ways to keep in contact with staff, students and parents. There's presence so that you can see if people are available before you transfer a call to them. Instant messaging is available for quick messaging, transferring docs, and most importantly, sending emojis. It includes a web chat plugin so that you can add this to your website, meaning that parents or students can ask a question if there's something around, like what date does term start. This could go straight to reception and just means that there isn't a need for an additional call to be made, and particularly during busy periods in the morning, it just means that these can be handled through other avenues of communication. Audio and video conferencing included for up to 250 people on the enterprise license. This will do screen sharing, one-to-many presentation. Safeguarding is key. There's a broadcasting functionality built into the 3CX system. This means that we can simultaneously tannoy out of all of the physical handsets on site in the event of an intruder or a fire. It just complements an existing emergency lockdown procedure. The call recording element is also included free of charge. This can be ad hoc or permanent and is based on a per extension basis. We found this is really useful for safeguarding staff and students. If there's a conversation being had, perhaps not on school premises, then there's always a record of this dialogue kept, regardless if it's using a physical phone, the mobile app, or the soft phone. There's a really nice solution for the absence line. We recommend adding this to the auto attendance. So press 1 for reception, press 2 to report an absence. We can then divert this to a voicemail where the parent would leave a message, and then this will go as voicemail to email into perhaps a reception at inbox. The audio file can also be accompanied by a transcription service, which means that there'll be text in there. And this means that people can multitask. They don't have to go and pick up a voicemail. They can just read it and log that absence in the MIS system. There's a slick integration with Office 365, meaning we can sync the calendar with the phone system presence. There's some Teams developments that are coming later on in the year. An SMS gateway has just been added, so we can text from the system. It's one-to-one at the moment, but we're looking to make this one-to-many, as we know that's going to be more useful for education. Don't get me wrong, none of these features are unique to 3CX, and some other phone systems can do them. However, they are all included with the license, and there are no additional add-ons. Some solutions make it feel a bit like a budget airline flight where you give you a nice starting price, and by the time you've added all the bits and pieces that you want, it's a fair way away from what you originally quoted. With 3CX, all of the functionality I've just discussed is included within that license. We believe we also offer key differentiator with our sustainability stance. We are key advocates of the circular economy, and we look to use remanufactured hardware where appropriate to provide cost savings and protect the environment. We also buy back any legacy hardware that we displace as part of any solution. And we run a carbon offsetting scheme via a localized tree planting initiative. I've pulled out a few of our key clients below, and there are more in-depth case studies available at our website, www.clarioncoms.com. We've got a great track record with schools, colleges, MATs and universities that we've already worked with, and this is just a snapshot of those clients. As you can see, 3CX can accommodate a small primary right up to a large MAT or a college. Over the last 12 months, we've deployed circa 5,500 extensions into education, and we're a Platinum 3CX partner. Thank you for your time. If you'd like any further information, then please contact us on the details on the screen, and we'll be happy to provide you with a more in-depth webinar showing you the 3CX system itself, a proof of concept, and some indicative pricing.